What if the hardest season of your life isn't your punishment, but proof that God is about to change everything? You've been praying harder, trusting longer, trying to stay faithful, yet somehow the doors keep closing, people keep walking away, and the silence feels louder than your prayers. It makes you wonder if you missed something, or if God quietly moved on without you. But here's the twist almost no one sees. The greatest deception isn't believing God has abandoned you, it's letting your circumstances manipulate you into believing He has. Every major miracle in Scripture was hidden behind a season that looked like failure. And if you misread that season, you could walk away just moments before your breakthrough. So before you assume God is silent, you need to see what He may already be doing behind the scenes. The moment your life feels like it's unraveling, may be the moment heaven is quietly rearranging it. When everything starts breaking at once, your first instinct is to believe you've failed. That's exactly how fear manipulates you. Psychologists call it negativity bias. Your brain naturally gives more weight to loss than to possibility, making every setback feel like proof that you're on the wrong path. Maybe you lost a job, a relationship ended, or a friend suddenly disappeared. You don't just question the situation, you begin questioning yourself. Confidence fades. Your decisions become driven by fear instead of faith. But throughout Scripture, God often removed temporary security before revealing lasting purpose. What feels like collapse may actually be divine preparation. And if this first sign is unfolding in your life, the next one is even more unexpected. The emptiness you feel may not be a sign that something is wrong. It may be a sign that you've outgrown where you are. When nothing seems to satisfy you anymore, it's easy to believe you're confused or ungrateful. That's where fear begins to manipulate your thinking. Psychology shows that people often cling to familiar routines because the brain prefers certainty over growth. Maybe you've stayed in a job that drains you, kept saying yes to a friend who constantly takes from you, or remained in a relationship that no longer reflects your values. Little by little, you stop trusting your own instincts. Your confidence weakens, your self-respect fades, and every decision becomes about staying comfortable instead of becoming who God is calling you to be. But God often changes your desires before He changes your destination. That restless feeling may be the first whisper of a new season, and the next sign reveals why the doors you've been knocking on may never open. The door that just closed may be the one that was never meant to lead you where God is taking you. Rejection has a way of feeling deeply personal. That's because your brain is wired to treat social rejection almost like physical pain. Fear then manipulates the story, convincing you that one closed door means you're not good enough. Maybe you were passed over for a promotion while someone less qualified got the job, or someone you trusted suddenly walked away. Before long, you begin lowering your expectations, doubting your worth, and making smaller decisions just to avoid being hurt again. But Scripture tells a different story. Joseph's rejection led to a palace. Paul's redirection led to God's purpose. What feels like a painful no may actually be divine protection. And if God is closing doors, the next sign explains why your faith may suddenly be facing its greatest test. The greatest pressure in your life may be arriving just before your greatest breakthrough. When your faith is tested, fear begins whispering that God has forgotten you. Psychology shows that chronic stress narrows your focus, making temporary problems feel permanent and convincing you to give up too soon. Maybe your family questions your decisions, your co-workers mock your values, or the answers to your prayers seem delayed. Over time, you stop trusting your judgment, second-guess every step, and begin settling for less than what God placed in your heart. But throughout the Bible, God never strengthened faith through comfort. Abraham waited. Noah built before the rain ever came. The pressure wasn't proof that God was absent. It was proof that perseverance was being formed. Hold on, because the next sign is even more mysterious. What if God's silence isn't rejection at all? The silence you're afraid of may be hiding the answer you've been praying for. When God seems quiet, fear immediately fills the empty space with worst-case stories. Psychologists call this the brain's tendency to fill uncertainty with negative assumptions. That's why silence can feel so painful. Maybe you've been praying about a broken relationship, a new job, or a family crisis, and nothing seems to change. The longer you wait, the more you question yourself. Your confidence weakens, your peace begins to fade, and every decision starts being driven by anxiety instead of trust. But remember Jesus in the tomb. Heaven looked silent, yet the greatest victory in history was already unfolding. Sometimes, God's silence isn't distance. It's deep, unseen work. And if you've discovered an unexplainable peace in the middle of unanswered prayers, don't ignore it. The next sign reveals why certain people may suddenly be disappearing from your life. Sometimes the most painful goodbye is actually God's protection in disguise. When someone walks away, your first instinct is to chase them or blame yourself. That's because human beings are wired for attachment, and the fear of rejection can make you hold on to relationships long after they've become unhealthy. Maybe a close friend suddenly grows distant, a partner ends the relationship, or coworkers begin excluding you. Slowly you start questioning your worth. You apologize for things that aren't your fault, lower your standards, and make decisions just to keep people from leaving. But not every departure is a loss. God separated Abraham from Lot before revealing a greater promise. Sometimes He removes people because they cannot go where He's taking you. If you're brave enough to release what God is removing, the final sign reveals the quiet evidence that your miracle may already be closer than you think. The most powerful sign isn't what you see around you. It's what refuses to die inside you. Nothing has changed. The prayers are still unanswered. The circumstances still look impossible. Yet somehow you wake up with a quiet hope you can't explain. Fear tries to manipulate that hope by convincing you it's only denial. Psychology has found that hope changes how the brain evaluates challenges, making people more resilient and more likely to keep moving forward even before their circumstances improve. Maybe your finances are still tight, your family situation is unchanged, or the opportunity hasn't arrived. But instead of giving up, something inside you keeps whispering, "Don't quit." Romans tells us that true hope does not disappoint because it is rooted in God's love, not in our circumstances. If that hope is still alive, don't ignore it. It may be heaven's confirmation that your miracle is already in motion. And remember, God's greatest works often become visible only after you've chosen to keep believing. The moment that almost made you give up may one day become the moment that proves God never left your side. What you've seen today isn't just about recognizing signs. It's about changing the way you interpret your life. The greatest battle is often not against your circumstances, but against the lies that try to define them. Awareness is the first step to breaking that manipulation. Once you see with faith instead of fear, you stop calling preparation a failure. Remember this: God's silence is never empty. It is often full of unseen purpose. If this message strengthened you, write "I trust God" in the comments, and if it spoke to your heart, like this video, subscribe and share it with someone who needs hope today. In the next video, we'll uncover a hidden psychological truth that quietly steals peace from millions of believers without them realizing it. Because sometimes, the greatest miracle begins the moment you stop believing the wrong story about your life.